Hello and welcome to a new video gambit. Today we'll finally be discussing 3 things great about Iron Man 2. Let's begin.
Everything changes.
Now I'm sorry that this video is going to be a little bit short, but I'm in between work trips and I'm getting out what I can. Now I know it's going to be a little bit of a difficult job to find some things good about a movie that is generally regarded as the weakest issue of Phase 1, and I am here to say there are 3 things that are at least worthy enough to be talked about on my channel. Let's get right into it. First thing I would like to address is that here we are in Phase 1, and this film took upon itself, maybe a little bit too much, but it took upon itself the responsibility of setting up the next 2 non-Iron Man films, Captain America and Thor. It did this in 2 somewhat low-key ways, in that we get a prototype of Cap's shield and a reference to Coulson going to New Mexico for a mission, obviously because Thor's hammer has just landed. But at the time of this movie's release back in 2010, Captain America and Thor were still a year away, coming in 2011. This overall connection to the larger MCU was still in its early stages and heretofore unprecedented in any other film franchise. So I give it credit for trying not only to be its own standalone film, but for referencing 2 future films that were coming, something that we really weren't used to seeing, and just incredible world building for its time. Today we've had more subtle and more epic instances of introductions to future films, such as Captain America Civil War's introduction of Black Panther and Spider-Man that led to their own 2 solo films. This point actually leads me into number 2. When we see Cap's shield in Iron Man 2, this is really good visual storytelling. Obviously, Iron Man 2 is the weakest installment in Phase 1 for a reason, but this specific instance right here shows how effective Jon Favreau can be when it comes to relaying a message through visual storytelling. Now, some tie-ins in the MCU, I believe, are unintentional, put in after, and sometimes obviously very, very essential. But this specific instance was really cool because the introduction of Cap's shield into this scene where Iron Man is dedicated to finding a new element that will allow him to replace the palladium-based arc reactor in his chest, which is poisoning his body, with this newly discovered idea, we get an amazing, amazing concept shown to us. Here we have Tony building his machine, using his brains to get through problems as he always does, and it's not level. He needs something to put underneath the contraption in order to level or balance it. And what is used? Captain America's shield. This laid some of the groundwork, at least inadvertently in my opinion, to the relationship that Cap and Iron Man were going to have in the future. They were going to be, if you will, the yin to each other's yang. One was going to be the impulsive genius, whereas the other one was going to be that level-headed, balance-bringing voice of reason to the Avengers team. And this was mind-blowing to me that they would have this kind of concept a year at least before we even knew Chris Evans was going to be the definitive Captain America. Finally, the last point I would like to bring up, once again, has to do with this inadvertent or unintentional, or perhaps, who knows, possibly intentional foreshadowing of future events. This instance where Whiplash is in a prison cell with Tony Stark, and the whole reasoning behind his motivation to take down that famous billionaire playboy philanthropist was simply to show him as a fraud as far as being the invincible Iron Man. Because he says,
if you can make God bleed, then people will cease to believe in him.
Because fallibility is present. This greatly mirrors the Titan fight with Thanos, where the only Avenger out of the entire film that is able to make a scratch on Thanos is Tony Stark. And Thanos immediately responds with,
all that for a drop of blood.
And I wonder if this was ever going through Tony Stark's mind in either of those two films. Not necessarily Robert Downey Jr., because he's just reading the script and doing so magnificently, but it makes me wonder if the character of Tony Stark was thinking back on that conversation with Whiplash in order to come to the resolution that it is possible. Because a Titan, a god in that sense, he himself made him bleed. And I bet that's a question even Batman was wondering.
Tell me, do you bleed?
It's a terrible joke.
Well, that's a video. Please let me know if you enjoyed it. I'm hoping, even though it was short, it was sweet. Let me know in the comments or by leaving me a thumbs up, and share the video with your friends. Please, I hope to see you on my next Video Gambit. Thanks for watching.